If you're multiplying by the same number each time, it's geometric, which means it's exponential, not linear.
How do you how can you see those equations like on a calculator? How would you plug those in?
You can always plug in.
You can plug in a set of ordered pairs in your stat screen on your calculator. If you hit stat and edit, you can plug in a column of x's and a column of y's and hit graph, and it will graph as long as your stat plot is on. That means you have to go to your second button and then what's called the stat plot button on the top left screen up here above y equals. This is your y equals button. If you hit that, make sure that it says on, because if you put a list in, you want that to show up as a scatter plot or as plotted points. So that's two things you have to do. You have to make sure that on is highlighted. And then when you highlight the word on, scroll over and highlight the word on and hit enter.
This is the linear equations.
This is only to enter a table of values and to get something to show up on your screen. What I'd like you to do, instead of trying to fit all that, thank you very much, instead of trying to fit all that in your calculator, look at the table. As x increases, y should increase by the same amount every time. So as x increases in your table, you have -1, 0, 1, 2. Here's your y, 9, 9, 9, 9. You need to look at a table and do one of these. Look at how it's changing. +1, +1, +1. Look at the other table. +0, +0, +0. If you are increasing that y value by the same amount each time, it is automatically linear. If I had said +1, +2, +3, that's not linear. If this were increasing by 1 every time and this increased by 2 every time, that's still linear. As long as you're adding the same amount each time, it's linear. That's all you need to do for the table question. Charles?
This is just like, it doesn't really do that. Like, I was messing around on a calculator and I figured out how to do shading for inequalities. And it won't like clear it off. Like every time I type in a new problem, it stays the same.
You might want to just clear your memory if you get stuck. So have to look at that and figure. And just hit second and then the plus sign, and then 7, 1, 2. Okay, number 50 is a very good example. You will have an example very, very similar to it. If you look through the study guide, there's an example very close to number 50 in the study guide. Under systems of equations. Systems of equations deal with two linear equations at once, and you're trying to find out the solution, meaning which x and y value will fit into both or all of those equations. That's what a system is. When you're solving a system, you're figuring out what goes into both equations and works. D was the correct answer for 50. And I need to explain why. Okay. A plus S equals 400. The situation is you're talking about variety show tickets. Could be movie tickets, could be any kind of ticket. The tickets have a cost. Well, in order to figure out how much you're going to pay, you have to know what the cost per ticket is per, meaning it's some sort of rate, and you have to know how many you're buying. That's going to tell you how much you're going to pay. It's logical. So the first of the two equations in any system that has this kind of parallel topic is that you have one equation that has nothing to do with the rate whatsoever, strictly quantity. The quantity in this one is there are 400 tickets. Doesn't matter if one ticket's $100 and one ticket's $3. It's just one ticket and one ticket. So you have a total of 400 tickets. That has nothing to do with the rate. This is your equation. Adult tickets plus student tickets equals 400. You will always have one without regard to the rate, and then another equation with regard to the rate. The second equation, even though I wrote it on top, because that's the way the answer was, is how much are you going to pay? You're going to pay the price of the student ticket times how many student tickets you have, plus the price of the adult tickets times how many adult tickets you have. And the information is all there, and it tells you that the amount that was paid was $1,680. Once you have those two set up, it's very easy, because you have a system of equations, and you have 4 methods of solving a system. One, and you're going to have to do this on the exam, one is graphing. This would be difficult to graph on your calculator on graph paper, because you've got a 400 and a 1680, and items as small as 3.75. So that's not going to really work. The second method is substitution. Substitution is used when one variable is easily isolated. Do you see one variable in that entire system that's easily isolated?
No. Or would you like isolate like A or S?
Yes. A or S already has a coefficient of 1. That's what you want to look for. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be in both.
I thought you meant the top.
Nope, in the system itself, meaning look at both equations and find one variable that's easily isolated. A is probably the easiest as we look left to right for you to see. And so if you see that, then you automatically know that A is the same thing as 400 minus S. Bless you.
Thank you.
So if A equals 400 minus S, that means instead of writing A up here, I can replace it. I can substitute it for 400 minus, for A.
I remember
400
doing
minus,
this.
yes. You do?
I do
You
too.
don't.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm like remembering it now.
That goes in here. Now you have an equation with one variable. You cannot solve an equation with 2 variables. You come up with a line. You have an infinite set of points, an infinite number of combinations that will work. This way, you have one variable, you have one solution. So you rewrite top equation with only using S. 3.75S plus 4.5 times 400 minus S, equals 1680. Now that's something you can solve. All you need to do is distribute, combine your like terms, and solve. Just like you do any multi-step equation. So when you distribute, 4.5 times 400, well, you know 4 times 400 is 1600, and half of 400 is 200, so that's 1800. Minus 4.5S equals 1680. What do you do next? Combine like terms. Good, and it's a negative. Don't forget, that's a negative. You look to the left. Every time you combine terms, you look to the left. The answer's going to be negative, but that's okay, because when we bring the 1800 over there, it'll also be negative. So this is a quarter plus 50 cents more, so there's a difference of 0.75. Negative 0.75S equals,
Wait,
oops, plus 1800, sorry.
how is it negative? Don't you change it to addition?
No, because we're not moving anything to the other side. All we're doing is combining. We're adding together a negative 4.5 and a positive 3.75.
So
There's-
if you're going to type that into the calculator, you just put a plus.
You just put a plus. Combining like terms is adding. Just like combining things is adding them together into one group. Okay. So now you have a simple 2-step equation to solve. Subtract 1800 and then divide by negative 0.75. Use your calculator to speed you up. Dividing by negative 0.75 is the same thing as multiplying by 4/3, because this is 3/4. Negative 0.75S equals negative 120. And now your answer is what? Dan, I see you figuring it out. What do you have? S equals what? Negative 0.75. So 120 divided by negative 0.75. Oh, okay. Positive. It'll be positive because we have a negative divided by a negative.
Wait.
So in order to find S, you need to divide. I'm sorry you can't see that very well. I don't know if the camera can see it. You need to divide by negative 0.75 in order